schools in the United States are still segregating students, okay? Particularly a rural town in Mississippi known as Walthall County.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so a federal judge had to force this county to stop segregating their schools. They would take African American students and put them in specific schools, and then they would take white students and put them in specific schools, transfer them over to specific schools.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. This ain't America. You're in Mississippi now. I mean, year 2010, and they're still doing this.
It's amazing, yeah.
It really is amazing. And it's not exclusively white and black, so that's what allowed them to get away with it for a little while. They're like, whoa, 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 what do you mean? What do you mean? We got some black kids here, and we got some white kids there. But they were allowing them to go to a school 10 miles apart so that the white kids could get segregated into a predominantly white school, and the black kids would stay in the predominantly black school.
Right. So Tylertown schools are the schools where the African American children were going to, and if there were white students going to Tylertown schools, they would be transferred over to the Salem Attendance Center, which is predominantly white. Mm-hmm. So it's funny because of the census, officials were able to track this down and say, hey, wait a minute, what are you guys doing? This is illegal. You're not allowed to do this. But it just amazes me that the school officials thought, okay, we're not going to get caught. Let's just do this. It's not that big of a deal.
Right. Another excuse they had was that they were permitting the students to go to that other school. They're like, what? I didn't make them go to that school. There's some white kids in this school. It's fine. But it totally threw off the numbers so that it became basically a predominantly white, predominantly black school, which was obviously their intent. And so the court said, no, you can't do that. That's crazy. That's obviously illegal, and you have to, stop that. But it goes to show you, I mean, the old argument about government intervention or not, and of course it's not always the right thing to do, but in some cases, if you let people get away with stuff, they're going to get away with it. And, I mean, if the federal government hadn't forced Mississippi to desegregate in the first place, they'd still be segregated.
Of course.
Right? And it goes to show you, in 2010, they're still trying. So, now it's not all in Mississippi, it's this particular area, but it's, discouraging to see that at this late date, that there are some counties in the country that are still doing that. And then, of course, if you ask a lot of people in the country, they're like, what racism? There's no racism. You guys make that stuff up, man. Come on. This is fairly indisputable. So, yeah. But the federal judge did the right thing here. So, God bless.
So now that, what I'm wondering is, now that they're going to desegregate the schools, the school officials, do they face any consequences for this? Because they're breaking the law.
Right.
So do we just let it go? And okay, you've been segregating schools for all these years illegally, but it's okay. You get to keep your job, and it's fine. Just make sure that you stop doing this. I mean, obviously these school officials they're racist. There's no question about it. So do you just let it go?
Well, look, of course we'd have to get into the nitty-gritty there. And if you need our services, if you need a TYT Supreme Court, we can, maybe for a certain consultant fee, we could come in there and regulate for you guys. But, you'd have to see who knew what was happening,
right,
who authorized it, who permitted the students to go to the other schools / maybe encourage them. Did they encourage them? Was it the principal, the vice principal, et cetera? And then once you ferret all that stuff out, yeah, of course there should be consequences for doing something that was illegal, and the Justice Department had to sue them to make it happen. And by the way, the federal judge that ruled in this case was Tom S. Lee from the U.S. District Court of Southern Mississippi. It's not like it was a northern agitator that came in. Okay, so the guy's like, no, this is obviously not right. So, yeah, I agree with you. There should definitely be some consequences.
Right.
I'm not saying necessarily criminal consequences.
Right.
I don't think that's an issue along those lines. But should they keep their job? One would presume not.
Right, exactly. And that's exactly what I was trying to get at. Because, look, if I had a child, if I were black, right, and I had a black child going to a school that was segregated, and this judge comes in and says, okay, you have to desegregate the schools, and they say, okay, your child is now going to go to a predominantly white school, that would make me uncomfortable because I don't know what the administrators or the school officials are going to do there. I don't know how they're going to treat my child. So that's why I bring up that concern.
That's an interesting point. I mean, if they were looking to segregate in the first place, they got a lot of issues, obviously. And so when they follow this ruling, which they have to by law and should, then, you know, are those administrators going to look at black students the same? Right? Great point. So that's why they should look very long and hard at, you know, what they should do about the administrators in those schools.
Right.